Ex-militant leaders reaffirm support for amnesty program. International Institute of Tourism inducts 100 amnesty delegates as professional members. Plus, tidbits and more. Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Reintegration 30,000. This is the third in the series and I am Stella Inameti. If you're just joining us for the first time, well, here is an opportunity to stay abreast on the activities of the Presidential Amnesty Program and how it is consolidating peace and stability in the Niger Delta region. Over the next couple of minutes, we hope to use the narratives of some critical stakeholders to intimate you on the reformation ongoing in the region as things continue to change for the better for more delegates under the program. Yes, Reintegration 30,000 is indeed all about the changing stories of ex-agitators from the Niger Delta and the mandate of the Presidential Amnesty Office to ensure that these delegates are successfully reintegrated into civil society. On this episode, our changed story is someone that was actively involved in the struggle, but is now actively involved in something else that has boosted her morale and self-esteem. The number of women that were involved in the Niger Delta armed struggle runs in hundreds. Many of these women joined in embracing amnesty and are part of the core population of delegates who have been trained and also empowered to start enterprises. Let's bring you a changed story.
My name is Natwaton Ileberi. I stay with my oga for in camp. We are cooking for him just like that. So before they grant the amnesty, before they say make they come drop gun, he tell me say make I come put my name because of the help when we been help them. Come put my name. Since I like fashion, the money, and I know day to do the fashion. That's why. And this is the opportunity that they have given me to continue the dream that I was dreaming about.
Let me bring scissors.
No, not scissors. Why is that? Why me see why if I cut them like this, but they more better. I want to like just remove this piece.
Okay. It will be okay.
We both learn both female and male, but yeah, to get male this thing is not rampant like that. Customer, it depends on the environment that customer will come. So the customer come for female more than male. That's why I decide to do males one. That is, they teach us male and female for the training. These two people are my staff. They work for me. They are under me, they work for me. Then, before they open the store, they don't give us money to buy these things. So I use my own money to buy the material and do all that rest. Even that machine, when is my own money, it's only these two with other one that they give me. This one, I bought it with my own money. That's why, to tell them that I'm serious, I really like the business to do. My dream is to put other bigger place, not this one. This one is too tight for me. My role model is Balamiri. Balamere, the one that trained us in the amnesty. That woman is very good and nice, and she put us well. She really put us well with this. I want to thank the federal government that bring this empowerment to me. I want to thank them. They did very, very well. Maybe if not for them, I don't know whether I will get this kind of stuff. So I want to thank them. May the Lord bless them and keep them in the mighty name of Jesus.
Sophia's aspiration to one day display her designs on the walkway of prestigious fashion shows depicts the truly changing stories of former agitators from the Niger Delta. The Presidential Amnesty Office has continued to pursue the task of helping these delegates achieve their dreams of becoming contributors to national development by expanding the scope of its skills acquisition component. This week, we will discuss the opportunities inherent in the tourism and hospitality training of delegates on the segment Insight. Developing expertise in vocations such as tailoring and fashion design, as well as culinary skills, might appear seemingly simple. However, experts in these fields are often quick to point out that providing maximum satisfaction for clients is not an easy task. Learning these vocations and perfecting in the hospitality business have become an integral part of an evolving society, thus informing the involvement of the Presidential Amnesty Office in this sector. Over the last few years, the Amnesty Office has engaged partners whose mandates have been to train delegates who volunteered to master this specific craft while highlighting their economic importance as well.
I would tell you in terms of training people and now including the final process, which is including empowering them, starting them off, I would say thank you. Thank you to the system. Thank you to anyone and everyone whose idea it is that we just don't stop at training, because if you give a man that training and you don't give him a source of using it, then you frustrate him, because then he thinks, why am I like this right now? Because if the amnesty program didn't give us the opportunity, I wouldn't have met the over 150 women that I have met, wouldn't have been able to contribute to their success story, wouldn't have even been able to myself discover part of the problem and then begin to work towards solving them. We all would have been deprived, including me. We all would have been deprived. But because this opportunity showed up and I showed up and used it, that's why I can tell you now that in terms of addressing human capacity development, it's a fantastic project.
Dozens of successfully trained delegates in this area are either managing their own fashion design business or working in the hospitality sector as sous chefs and hoteliers.
White-collar job is not everything. Skill is one important thing and it helps a lot. Having skill is like you have something within you that you can never lose till the day you die. Lots of people have been empowered, some have gone to school, and the difference is already showing. So if it is sustained, I know that it will make a lot of difference to the young people, and not just the young, to everybody.
To further consolidate the gains being made in these areas, the Presidential Amnesty Office is expanding partnerships to key professional institutes with vested interest in training young entrepreneurs. One of such partnerships is with the International Institute of Tourism and Hospitality in Yanagwa, Bayelsa State, where 1,000 Amnesty delegates are projected to be trained over a 10-month span in batches of 100 each. The training is projected to explore the diverse opportunities inherent in the rich cultural heritage of African societies, while emphasizing the peculiarities of the Niger Delta ecosystem for tourism and hospitality. In essence, the delegates are being trained to have a solid base for fashion and catering businesses. All trained delegates in weather, fashion and design, or catering and hospitality, are given business startup packs to begin small enterprises. On Talking Point this week, I have joining me an activist, social engineer and public affairs commentator, Seya Manager, Chairman, Niger Delta Nationalities Forum. Welcome to Reintegration 30,000.
Thank you, my sister Stella. Thank you very much.
Let me ask you something quite critical and point blank. Do you think the amnesty program has succeeded, at least as an alternative to peace, compared to past armed agitation witnessed in the Niger Delta?
Well, the question is not an objective question, but I can tell you that yes, the amnesty program has succeeded reasonably. But anytime I have the opportunity to talk about the amnesty program, I also want to take the opportunity to tell Nigerians and those who are listening that the Niger Delta, where I come from, where I'm a stakeholder, does not have just the amnesty program. There are other interventionist agencies there. The NDDC is in the Niger Delta, the 13% derivation that we know about, and the Niger Delta Ministry. Of course, then we talk about the amnesty program. But of all these 4 interventionist agencies that we know about, I can tell you for sure that the amnesty program is the most successful. It's the one that is delivering clear benefits, because we know that the amnesty program has a clear mandate, and we know how it came to be. The amnesty program is about 8 years old now, considering that it came to bear from 2009 to 2010 to today. We know the number of young people who took up arms against the government at the time, and when the Yaradua government decided to proclaim the amnesty program, for which about either 26 or 30,000 young men and women from the Niger Delta, 6 states, 1 other state from the southwest Ondo, and 2 other states from the southeast, Imo and Abia, which are also oil producing communities. So we know it covers about 9 states and about 30,000 young men and women, not necessarily children of big men, but people who were picked from here and there, from my community and other places. And we know exactly what the amnesty program is doing with these young people. So we think that to a great extent it has succeeded, but there's more to be done.
In your opinion, what do you consider as some of the remarkable gains being achieved?
Now, in specific terms, like I started, I always like to make references when I talk about the amnesty program and other programs. We, the stakeholders in the Niger Delta, know that the Niger Delta Development Commission, the NDDC, came into existence about 2000 or 1999 to 2000 during the Obasanjo regime. It was at that time that the 13% derivation itself came to being. And then it was after 8 years, when the Yaradua government came into existence, that the amnesty program was proclaimed in 2009, as I said earlier, and then the Niger Delta Ministry. So there is a difference between about 17 years of NDDC and the 13% derivation fund, and then the amnesty program and the Niger Delta Ministry. When you talk about the amnesty program, I have over 10 or 15 young men from my own community that have benefited from the amnesty program. I have a younger brother that benefited from it. We know that about 26,000 or about 30,000 were captured. And the last time I checked, about 14,000 of them had already been trained. Some of them have been reintegrated into the society. But we also want to tell the amnesty program that they should not just be returned and be driven back to community. Those that have been trained should be counseled properly on drug abuse, on violence management, and other instruments of living before they are driven back to civil society after the integration. So we can specifically measure that if about 30,000 young men were captured during the 2008, 2009 to 2010, and about 14,000 had already been trained. Some of them are now pilots, some are bricklayers, carpenters, some are into agricultural activities that we know. Why, yeah, the other time I came to the amnesty program and we wanted to find out what was happening, we hear about the Anchor, the central bank Anchor brewer program, but we don't know how far it is gone. But we think that a lot is happening in the amnesty program.
Earlier, you alluded to skills acquisition among youth of the region. How much importance should be given to building the skills of young people?
We cannot overemphasize the importance. The importance touches the life of not only the government, the Niger Delta itself, and the persons, the young ones that are supposed to be the beneficiaries of the amnesty program. Today, if my younger brother, if my younger sister has been trained by the amnesty program, you know what it means to my own self. It means that the burden of taking care of my younger brother and my younger sister now lies with the government. And so it is too important to the people of the Niger Delta that they are younger ones, the youths, especially those that have been captured under the amnesty program, should be given the requisite training.
There is the question of trust between the government and the people of the region. How can both sides continue to build trust and ultimately work towards a common goal?
We think that the trust between the government and the people is relying strongly on the government's promise. When government works on its promise and makes sure that they roll out exactly what they have promised, the Niger Delta people are going to give this government all that it requires to make sure that there is peace in the Niger Delta. As we speak, you're all aware that there have been peace in the Niger Delta for the past 3-4 months. No pipelines have been destroyed. Oil exploration has gone up to almost 2 million barrels from what it was when the Minister for State himself announced that they are producing less than 1 million barrels. But today it's about 2 million or more. And that means that peace has been existing in the Niger Delta. And so we expect government to make sure that they keep to their side of the promise by making sure that monies that are allocated to the amnesty program and all other agencies are given to those agencies as at when due, so that the peace can be sustained.
Thank you for joining us on Reintegration 30,000. Seya Manager is an activist, social engineer, and public affairs commentator. He is also the chairman, Niger Delta Nationalities Forum. Time now for our segment, PAP in Recap. 100 delegates of the Presidential Amnesty Program have been inducted as professional associate members of the International Institute of Tourism and Hospitality. The newly inducted members are the first tranche of delegates to conclude a month-long training at the Institute's headquarters in Yenagoa, Bayelsa State. The training explored the diverse opportunities in Nigeria's tourism sector while highlighting the nation's rich cultural heritage as a solid base for fashion and catering businesses. Speaking at the event, the Special Advisor to the President on Niger Delta and Coordinator of Presidential Amnesty Program, Brigadier General Paul Boro, described the program as expansive enough to integrate key elements of Nigeria's social environment as unique selling points for targeted small and medium-scale enterprises in the hospitality industry.
It's my hope and my prayer and my wish that we make the best opportunity and prove to the world, indeed, investing in you is the best of the choices.
The event in Yenagoa attracted a large turnout of guests, which included strong representations from the state government and the Traditional Rulers Council. Another batch of 100 delegates will soon be deployed to the Institute for Training, with a projected 1,000 completing training in tourism and hospitality in the next 10 months. A crucial meeting between the Special Advisor to the President on Niger Delta, Brigadier General Paul Boro, and ex-militant leaders of Phases 2 and 3 of the Presidential Amnesty Program rose in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, with a resolution to support President Buhari's peace initiatives for the region. The meeting aimed at peace building and conflict resolution amongst the groups, while hoping to boost trust with the government. Meanwhile, the Special Advisor to the President on Niger Delta, Brigadier General Boro, has described as rather unfortunate insinuations and comments from certain quarters maligning his office and the character of President Muhammadu Buhari over the implementation of projects under the Amnesty Program. He described those responsible as faceless and disgruntled politicians and contractors whose efforts would only strengthen his resolve to carry out the mandate given to his office by the president. General Boro called on the people of the region and Nigerians in general to take ownership of President Buhari's peace and development initiatives for the region. In another news, the Special Advisor to the President on Niger Delta and coordinator of the Presidential Amnesty Program, Brigadier General Paul Boro, in a bid to engage as many ex-agitators as possible, has reached out to the Nigerian Content Development and Monitoring Board. The objective is to get the board to assist in the assessment, recertification, and engagement of beneficiaries of the Amnesty Program trained in oil and gas as well as related fields. General Boro led a delegation of stakeholders and officials of the Amnesty Office to meet with the Executive Secretary, Engineer Simbi Keseye Wabute, and officials of the board in Yanagwa, Bayelsa State. The Amnesty Office has trained over 3,200 delegates in oil and gas-related vocations. And finally, the Amnesty Program boss, Brigadier General P.T. Boro, has promised to ensure quality and competitiveness in the training of delegates under the program. General Boro made the comments while inspecting some facilities being used for the training of delegates in various vocations. While his latest inspection was at a fish and poultry farm center in Patani, Delta State, General Boro insisted that only centers with quality staff and contemporary training gears would be deployed to engage delegates for training. He rationalized that ensuring quality in training would put the delegates in a better position to harness skills comparable with their counterparts from developed parts of the world. This is how we wrap up this episode of the program. Do remember to visit us on our social media platforms where you can make comments and contributions. Also remember that amnesty works. I am Stella Inameti.